came right over that top lintel that you see on the right-hand side gate.
Okay.
Right? Whenever the sun sets on any of these buildings or vice versa. So what I thought they did is that before they built those buildings, they actually studied heights, they studied the speed of rising, they studied the time of rising and shining, and accordingly they would build the building, not vice versa. And by this, it will lead to, yes, what's happening and what happened today. What happened today in Faiyum, also in the temple of Kasr Qaroun. Also, there was another amazing phenomena that happened this morning in Kasr Qaroun. Kasr Qaroun is a temple. More or less, rather the idea of Abu Simbel than Karnak. Because now Karnak, we knew that it was the Akhit and we knew it was the hills. And by the way, the Karnak temple's phenomena that took place today is not for one day. Yes, this phenomenon is going to happen tomorrow, inshallah, and it's going to happen the day after tomorrow, God willing.
Oh, it goes on
3
for
days.
3 days.
3 days, that phenomenon took place and still taking place in the Karnak temples and dealing with the Karnak temples. While, for example, in Abu Simbel, it only is for 1 day. It takes about 20 minutes or so.
That's very interesting, though. Doesn't the sun move every day?
Sure. And that is what, and the movement itself, accordingly, the space of the opening of that vestibule and the pylons, the space between the two pylons, which is forming the horizon, will allow you to do this, to do that, to allow the sun to move a little bit to the left or to the right, or maybe higher, maybe lower. So it will take, just like when you study the winter solstice, you think winter solstice can take place 21st, 20th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. So in astronomy, yes, you give that space. The space is allowed on that. The one
every time, though, I mean, I just have to interrupt you. Every time we look at the ancient Egyptians and the things that they invented, the things they carved, they built, I'm just awed by how genius they were and how intricate and very detailed everything was studied, and everything was, I mean, I guess, pinpointed exactly as it should be.
Pinpointed is a correct term, my dear. And you know what I think they did and we don't? I think they concentrated more with heavens, with the sky, with the movement of the stars and the planets. And I guess, as I said earlier, that was the TV for the ancient Egyptians. The sky was the TV. After sunset, it's darkness, nothing to do. So I'm going to gaze at the sky. And when I gazed, I saw a huge, amazing movements happening all over the place. So this year, I'm going to study the star so-and-so, starting from here to there. And for example, they studied Mars. They studied planets. And you will be amazed to know that the ancient Egyptians called Mars the red planet.
How did they know?
Which is the same naming that we give today. Now, how would they know? And they didn't have any of those telescopes or Galileos or Ibn Shatir, the famous astronomer. Well, you know that Mars can be seen by naked eye. And it can actually be seen red or reddish or orangey color. So what I'm trying to say is they didn't have also huge lights. Like today, for example, in Cairo, Alexandria, big cities, you will have lights everywhere. Lights, you don't see sky well. You want to see the sky well, you go outside light.
True. And
that's why if you go to St. Catherine, oh, the movement of the stars right over your head is amazing. Amazing. It's so clear. Safaga, out of this world. I once took my colleagues on the beach on Safaga at night and I gave them a talk about the stars.
Wow.
And that's why they studied the Orion constellation, the ancient Egyptians. And they resembled it to Osiris, Osir. And they said that Osiris, the man, have a belt. And the belt is made out of 3 stars. And that's the Orion belt. That we call it today the Orion belt. And the 3 stars, Al-Nilam, Al-Nitaq, Al-Mintaqa, that's their names in Arabic, that's their names in English. That's the names in French, in German. You name it, they took the Arabic naming of it. Al-Nilam, Al-Mintaqa, and now the interesting thing is Those three stars are not all aligned together on one straight line. Two are on one straight line, and the third star is offset. That's the belt of the Orion constellation. Now, and here is the $6 million question, another alignment, did the ancient Egyptian amazing engineers of the three pyramids of Cheops, Khufu, Khafra or Kha'ifra, Khafren, or Menkaura or Mycerinus or Menkaura, the three famous ones?
So they align the pyramids to the Orient belt.
Because Khufu and Khafra are on the same straight line. If you draw a line like that, from the apex here to the apex there, from the summit of Khufu to the summit of Khafra, you have one straight line. The Menkaura is offset. It doesn't go on the same straight line. Why? The ancient Egyptians were precise. What's this? This is correlating the three pyramids with the three Orion belt stars.
Nothing is ever spontaneous with the ancient Egyptians.
Nothing is haphazard. Going back to Qasr Qaroun is a Ptolemaic temple. It is in the days of the Ptolemies, who came after Alexander III, or Alexander the Great, as we like, and he liked to call himself as well. So that temple we had this morning, we had it also entering the sun rays, and at the end of the temple, there is the Holy of Holies, as usual. A sanctuary, and a room, and a room on the right, and a room on the left. The sun rays will enter, did this morning, and it will illuminate the main one, of course, because that's the main Holy of Holies. And it will illuminate the right side one from the viewer. If you're standing this way, it's going to be on the right. But the one on the left is not going to be illuminated completely. Now, I'll take you back to Abu Simbel. When I came to you guys here in the day of Abu Simbel, I was telling you that the 4 carved statues on the Holy of Holies,
one of them was never covered with light.
Remember that? Yeah. So 3 of them, Rahurakti, the deity, the mythological deity Rahurakti, was illuminated with a human body and a falcon's head. We have Ramesses the second was also illuminated. We have the famous Amun Ra, or wrongly known Amun Ra, the sun with the 2 feathers. But Pitah, who is Pitah today, was not illuminated. And somebody will come up to you and say, oh, you are talking astronomy and genius, and this is not genius. It's why the 4th one is not illuminated. That means that the phenomenon is wrong. So don't go and tell us about how genius the ancient Egyptians were.
There's probably a point to it.
Of course, as you said, nothing happens haphazardly in ancient Egypt, as you well know. If you read, my dear friend who says that this phenomenon is wrong, if you read very, very precisely in the mythology of ancient Egypt, you will notice that Pitah, or Pitah, that deity on the 4th, on the left,
represents the
darkness.
underworld.
Darkness. He forms a part of darkness. So he shouldn't be illuminated. Because once he's illuminated, the phenomenon will be wrong. So vice versa. Now, we go back to Qasr Qaroun in Faiyum. And you notice that the left one is not illuminated. There are no statues there. So what's wrong? What happened wrongly? Why the alignment here is not correct? Well, the alignment here is perfectly correct, my dear friend. Because the left chamber was where the mummy of the crocodile will be placed. Faiyum was called in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs Ta, Shi. Ta is land. Shi is lake. Land of the lake. Of course, we have the Qaroun lake there, which was originally Merwer, the Great Sea, in hieroglyphs. And then it became Maurice in the days of the Ptolemies. Now, amazingly enough, I will tell you the history of Qaroun lake later on. Why do we